All right, we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our MasterClass community webinar on protecting your work. This has been a completely community-generated webinar that has been planned and organized by our honor student, Carmen the Wordsmith, who you may have seen around the hub or in the Shonda Rhimes Facebook group that she created. And we're really excited to have this discussion today. So before we begin, for those of you who have not used Zoom before, just wanted to give you a quick little intro to see, how you can participate in this conversation. So if you hover over your video and you're using it, watching on the desktop or laptop, you can hover over, you'll see the words chat, Q&A, and maybe a couple other things. If you click chat, that'll open up a chat box where you can introduce yourself, let us know where you're tuning in from, and just say hi. And then if you want to submit a question, we might have some time at the end to answer additional questions that are submitted live during the event. There should also be a Q&A button. If you click that, it'll open up the Q&A, which will be much easier for us to review and pull out questions. So with that, we're going to get started. I'm going to pass along to Carmen, who's going to be hosting, and our special guests from the WGA West, Aaron and Caroline. So go ahead, take it away, Carmen.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I want to say welcome to everyone and thank everyone for assisting me with this project. It is definitely a topic that is always pretty much flowing in the study group, the MasterClass study group on Facebook. And so it was something that I felt would really benefit the students in the hub to try to, answer some of the questions. And that's one of the main things that we writers are concerned about is once we do create, we spend a lot of time preparing for these works of creativity and genius. And, one of the things that prevent us from moving forward is, what if someone steals my idea? What if someone takes my concept and use it as their own? If I submit to competitions, am I opening myself up for potential theft? And these are all things that are real things. It's very good to have, some level of reservation and hesitation, because then I think it gives us and puts us in the mindset to where we can be proactive and take necessary steps to do things that is going to, bless the world with, our creativity, but at the same time, give us a certain amount of protection. And this is where this comes in handy for everybody. Now, unfortunately, I did not, the Library of Congress, or the AKA the Copyright Office, did not have a representative available to join us today. So I want to say before we dive in that I am planning a part 2, hopefully in May. And of course, this has to go through MasterClass and Brad and everybody. But I'm thinking about having someone from the Copyright Office as well as a legal attorney. So fingers crossed, if I can pull all of that together in time, then we'll have some more information, because a lot of the questions we did receive were pretty much legal in nature. And so while, I will be responding to some, they are just my opinions and things like that. They will not constitute legal advice. And so you're still encouraged to get legal advice. However, so what we want to do, I think the way I will start is, I hope everyone is in the Q&A. I don't actually see it, Brad, but if you could maybe help me out. If I'm going to ask a question, and I just kind of want people just to kind of see among the ones that's here, what they really think in terms of their work being protected. And I want to ask, at what point is your intellectual property protected? Does anybody know that answer?
If everyone can write their answer in the chat room, I'll let you know what everyone's saying.
Okay. Because a lot of people are, they really don't know. And it may seem like a simple question, but, a lot of people make this mistake.
All right. So
Oh, I see some good ones popping up.
looking as they're coming in, some people are saying not sure. Others are saying when you register in the organization, like the WGA West. But some people are saying right when it's published. Others are saying once pen hits the paper.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick up with that one. When the pen hits the paper and when it comes, when it is basically, when it transforms from intellectual property to tangible, you are automatically protected with the first word you write or type, or the first musical note that you play. That first thing that makes it tangible is when your work is protected. So a lot of people think it has to be registered first, it has to be published first, and that's just not true. Your intellectual property is protected according to the US copyright laws as soon as it becomes tangible. And so now, that being said, that doesn't mean that you will not find yourself in a situation to where you might have to prove that you are the author. And this is where the Library of Congress, the US Copyright Office, and thankfully the WGA, this is where they come in, because we have the ability then to create somewhat of a paper trail. We can document the not just the birth of our intellectual property, but the transformation. And for writers, that looks like draft 1, 2, 3, final draft. All of those things are things that we can keep to prove that this evolved under our, creation over a period of time. And so I want to make sure that that's clear. And that being said, I've taken almost about 10 minutes. So I want to go ahead and turn it over to WGA. And what I'd like to do, I think I'll start with them just telling a little bit about themselves, their department, what they do, how the department benefits us as artists and musicians and writers. And then we'll take some questions, and then I have some final things to say, and we'll wrap it up, and hopefully we'll get everybody's questions answered. But just an FYI, I did kind of try to coordinate the questions to like questions. So we may not get to everyone's questions, but at least we'll be able to hit on a lot of topics. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Caroline and Aaron. Whoever would like to introduce themselves first, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Aaron. I work obviously in the registration department. I do most of the marketing. And basically the purpose of registration is to establish a creation date on behalf of that author. A lot of people get it confused with the Copyright Office.
Yeah.
But we are different. We are separate. This is creating evidence of authorship for your material, whereas the Copyright Office is more evidence of ownership, the ownership rights to the material.
Okay.
So being that this is the Writers Guild, we are concerned with who are the authors of the material. Okay. And we've been around since 1927, so we have been doing this for quite a while.
Yeah.
And we do produce evidence on the author's behalf in a court case, should that ever arise. We don't know the outcome of the cases. We are just strictly basically a holding house for your material, for your evidence.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
I'm sure Caroline has something to add. She's been here for 25 years, so she has a lot more experience than I do.
Okay, she's the veteran. Hi, Caroline.
Hi. I don't have very much to add. It is a very simple process. I am Caroline. I have been at the Writers Guild for about 28 years. I've been over the registration department for 20 of those years. And we are here to assist writers and authors to establish and create the evidence of their authorship of their written work.
Okay. So one of the things that I know, one of the questions that I saw about 15 or so came in, from your perspective, do you recommend the in place of WGA, in place of the Copyright Office, or in conjunction with the office?
Definitely in conjunction.
Okay.
Definitely in conjunction.
Okay. So it is not to place or take place, or you know, it's not to register the work in a legal manner with the U.S. Copyright Office. It is just to kind of be like a supporting, I don't know, how would you say it? Kind of, I guess it's another layer of protection, another layer of documentation for the artist. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. What you do, what writers do when they register with us, they create legal evidence, and if necessary, we produce that material to court.
Oh,
so we
okay.
testify on behalf of that evidence.
Okay.
So it is in conjunction with, it augments the evidence.
Okay. Okay. So another question is what happens to the property once it's submitted to WGA, the personal property of an artist?
As far as how is it getting made, or?
Well, once a person submits a script or you know, other kind of artistic work, once they submit it to WGA for registration, what happens to that actual copy that they register? What happens to it in terms of once it's processed, and then if there's an expiration to it, how long is that expiration, or how long before it expires, and then what happens to it after it expires?
So the registrations, we accept registrations in paper form and online submissions. So if they are paper form submissions, then they'll literally go to our warehouse, and they will stay there. They will stay there for 5 years. It is a safe, locked, secure warehouse. It'll stay there for a 5-year period, which will allow that person the time to pitch their material or whatever they're doing with it. And then at the end of that 5-year period, they have a 90-day grace period to renew their material. If they're still working on it, they're still getting it pitched. And if they don't renew the material, once it hits that 91st date, then we need to get rid of it.
You
purge it.
Okay, and then what does the purging consist of, just in case someone is wondering that?
The material itself is destroyed. If it is a hard copy piece of paper, it's shredded at an offsite facility that we witness and document. We've seen that it's been destroyed. And if it's an online registration, it's deleted.
Okay, so no other copies are maintained anywhere or anything like that?
No, just the one you give us.
And it's only, and we only maintain it for the duration of the registration.
Okay, so one person is asking, does WGA only accept registrations from US citizens? Because this person was in Canada and they wanted to know just how broad of a perspective do you all cover in terms of?
So you don't have to be a United States citizen. If you're it's worldwide. If you are doing this online, you will see the section that asks for your ID. And if you're not an American citizen, then you will just select other and then use a passport number or any government ID number.
Okay. And then also, let's see here. Oh, here's one. How much is the fee? I know that came in quite a bit too. How much is the fee to register each copy for members and non-members?
All registrations are $20 for non-members, regardless of length. They can be 1 page, it can be 100 pages. It's all $20. For WGA members, they're $10. So that's the only difference. But all registrations with the Writers Guild West are $20 for 5 years.
Okay. Now you specified the Guild West. Now the one on the East Coast, do they do also registrations?
They do. The East does have a registration department, but our databases are separate. So we don't share any information. So all the information and registrations that you have with the East, you'd have to contact the East to maintain records.
Okay. Got it. And then let's see, someone was wondering if the, let's see, hold on. Let's see. Okay. It was the one more. I just had it and it went away. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine.
What about the types of things that can be registered with WGA? Is it only written content? Is it musical? Is it only for TV, film industry, etc.?
It is written content, but we accept not only screenplays, they can be novels, you can do short stories, what else do we have?
Web series.
Lyrics to music, to your music. You can register the lyrics.
Artwork. Oh, okay.
Web series that you have. Anything in written form. It goes beyond screenplays.
Right.
Okay. Okay. All righty. And let's see.
I see a good question that Susan has asked about
changing.
How often, if you make small changes, do you have to submit, your small changes? What we say is that if your changes are significant enough to where they affect the storyline, then you might want to consider registering your material again. But again, we don't read the actual material, so we kind of leave that up to the author. But if you feel like your changes have affected the storyline and it has become significantly different, then it would be a good idea to register the material again. And at that point, then you would have 2 different versions on file, each one with their own registration number.
Okay. And that's really interesting because that's what I did with one of my scripts. I did, because as a writer and also a book writer, I'm used to first, second, and third drafts. So when I did one of my screenplays, I registered a first draft and a second draft, but that was mainly just for my own weird need to just feel I was documenting more. So that actually might not be a bad idea, especially if it changes drastically, that, to just go ahead and register a second draft as a way to just kind of document that development trail. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. You can if you guys see some questions you want to answer and I missed them, just jump in and read the questions and we can go ahead and.
Oh, okay. I see a question from, let's see.
As a writer.
Now, someone was asking how to become a WGA member. Do you know what that, well, I'm sure you do. Can you tell her what that process is?
I can tell you, it's, we're not in membership, so we just know the basics.
Right.
And to become a member of the Writers Guild, you need to acquire a certain number of units of produced writing credit through a guild covered project. And once you acquire these units, the certain number of units, I believe it's 22 units. Once you acquire these units within a 3-year period, you are eligible. The guild invites you to join.
Okay.
So it does take produced writing credit from a guild covered project.
Oh, okay. And those credits typically are, okay. So did I miss how many credits?
I believe it's 24.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And
okay.
and various writing is worth so many different amounts of units. So produced writing credit of a feature film could maybe be worth 24 credits and will become eligible. But there's a breakdown of all of those units and what each work is worth on the Guild's main website, which is wga.g.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Let's see here. Let's pull up another question. Let's see.
There's one from Victoria that says, when would be a good time to register your work? We recommend that you register it before you begin to share it with other people. So before you begin to even discuss, your first ideas, it'd probably be a good idea to register something. If you don't have a finished screenplay, like I said, we also accept concepts and outlines and ideas. So it doesn't have to be that completed screenplay or completed work.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Well, this person was asking, I think she was asking if you accept treatments.
Yes.
Yes.
For registration.
That is,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Okay. And also, what about registering logos?
No.
That might, to the person, I didn't catch your name, that might also fall under the Copyright Office under trademark. I know that you can trademark logos, but go ahead with WGA.
Well, logos and titles are not registered with us. We recommend people, we refer people to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
Okay.
To that office to find out if they can register their title or logo, slogans, phrases that would go through the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
Okay. Okay. So, and I hope you were able to hear that response. I didn't catch her name. Let's see, I have another list of questions. Hold on, I'm trying to get to them. I apologize, but my computer doesn't want to cooperate with me, having all the windows open. Let's see here.
We also wanted to specify that you do not need to be a member to register. Registration is open worldwide to both non-member and member. In fact, the majority of our customers are non-members from outside of the United States. So you do not have to be a member to register. It's just if you are a member, you do get a discount.
Okay. Okay. And the registration is good for 5 years again.
Yes.
And see, someone told me that WGA, I'm gonna wait too quick. WG number, let's see, for novels. Yes, it's $20 to register for non-members. Let's see, the World Intellectual Property Organization. Let's see here. I'm gonna open this one up.
I see a good one from Lena. She asked, how do you register if you're using a pen name? Should you register under your real name or pen name or both? So with registration, since this is considered legal evidence and we do have the possibility of submitting this to a court of law for arbitration, you do need to use your legal name when it asks for that. So your legal name and one form of ID, meaning social, driver's license number, or passport number, any government issued ID.
Okay, and that's a good point also that he brings up. It's this can be used and can back you up in legal situations. So the importance of using WGA is probably one of your best line of defenses. With us being, you know, artists and creators, and many of us have this, you know, always in the back of our minds, am I releasing this to a safe person? Am I releasing this to an honest person? And sometimes things just, you know, happen, and sometimes they happen unintentionally, but always having that WGA registration in the Library of Congress is a good shield of defense for you if you find yourself in one of these situations.
Correct.
Okay. Let's see here.
And can I wanted to speak on the copyright. We cannot speak a lot on copyright just because we are not the Library of Congress, but your copyright is inherent. And that means when it's created, your copyright is there.
Yes.
The Library of Congress can't do anything about it until you register that copyright. And the same thing goes with us. Yeah. We are a layer of evidence to your authorship, and we can only testify to that authorship if we have the material, and the registration remains current.
Okay. So one person was wondering if you can give an example of how, wait a minute, let me read it. Give an example of one way that the WGA can help defend if my work is hijacked. What? I guess give an example of your role if someone finds themselves in a situation, what is like specifically what will WGA do if needed in a court situation, a court hearing? That's
well,
what
if
I'm gathering she
necessary,
means.
what we do is we are often subpoenaed, and we respond to subpoena by providing a copy to court, any proceeding, any guild or official legal proceeding. We provide a copy of that material as evidence to court. If necessary, we, the guild, will testify in court if we have to. So this is legal evidence that authors are creating with the Writers Guild when they register their work. It's legal evidence, and that's how we treat it. It's treated as such, and if necessary, we will testify on behalf of that evidence.
Okay. Can I submit my work on any type of medium? Can it be CD-ROM? Does it have to be electronically? And are there special mailing requirements?
So, like I said, we accept online submissions. So that can be your way of electronically submitting your information. But we also accept hard copy material, whether that's going to be coming in person to register in person, or you can also mail the material. But if it's a hard copy form, then it would need to be on 8.5 by 11 size paper, which is a standard size paper.
Okay. And I don't think we addressed this one, but Shannon, did you answer Shannon's, Aaron? I don't recall. What if you write under, well, no, that's not the one. Hold on. Do I submit the whole season of scripts together or per episode? And how do I protect the entire series?
When it comes to series, registration purpose is to document the storyline of the work. So when you're writing a series, you have your pilot episode is going to establish that storyline. So you do not need to register every single episode. What we recommend is that authors or writers register a Bible or the treatment plus the first episode, something to that effect, because otherwise every single episode would have to be registered separately. It couldn't be all as one, because all you're trying to do is establish the evidence of that storyline, the initial storyline. And then when you make changes to that storyline, if they affect the storyline enough, it's no longer the same work and you'd want to document it again.
Okay. Now here's an interesting question. Someone is wondering, can they register log lines? And for me, you know, I would do it if I would put it with my script, if the script was finished, but if it wasn't, I'd do my summary and log line. Now you tell us what the recommendation is.
Well, because it is evidence and it's legal evidence, we recommend you're as detailed as possible. If you only have log lines, or if you only have an outline, or you only have a treatment, that as detailed as possible is what we recommend. We can't assist in your preparation of the work, but we do recommend you're as detailed as possible. What we do get sometimes are people going into pitch meetings, and we'll take a page of pitches even. So that if you're going to go into a pitch meeting and talk to someone about an idea, at least you have it documented on this date that you talked about this idea. And then if it goes anywhere or evolves into anything, you can then come back and register your work.
Okay. Kiki, I think she just answered your question. So it really fell into that. And then someone is wondering, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit already, Aaron, but is there a preference between the East and the West, or does it matter if you're on the East Coast and you register with the West and vice versa?
It doesn't matter. Your location does not matter. So you can be in New York and you can still register with the Writers Guild West. You can register whether you live in the United States or outside of the United States.
The Writers Guild East and the Writers Guild West are sister unions. The registration departments are the same purpose. We just have different processes, and we're two totally, completely separate businesses.
Okay. Now, someone is wondering, is there a way to, when you register something to know or to find out, kind of, I think it's kind of like what they have over at the Copyright Office, to find out if a certain idea has been registered with WGA?
We don't have searches like that because you're creating legal evidence of the work. When it's submitted to us, it's sealed. It's not reviewed. It's not read. It's not released. It's literally sealed and put away, shelved for you if you need this evidence. It's kind of like a good bad thing. It's good to have evidence, but it's bad if you ever need to call on it. So it's a good bad thing. It's evidence, and we don't. There isn't a mechanism where you can search for authors or ideas or titles.
Okay.
Because it's just we're creating the evidence on behalf of that single writer.
Okay. And also to that person who asked the question, I do know that the U.S. Copyright Office, also their database is a matter of public record. So that is one of the reasons that you can go there and search, a person's name or a title, because their registrations are a matter of public record. So keep that in mind when you register and what name you choose to register under. Let's see. Should we?
I see a
register?
good one right here that
Okay.
Aisha asked about the dialogue. So she asked if it isn't a foreign language, is it still registerable? Your material does not have to be in English. You can register in any language that you like. It does not have to be in English.
Okay.
The information you provide to us does need to be free of any special characters or foreign language that we won't be able to respond back to you. But as long as the title page and as long as your information is provided to us where we can translate it or we can read it, then your material, what's inside, we don't read that. So we don't know what's inside of the material.
Okay. Okay. All right. And a couple of international questions still coming in. Not sure if they may have missed some earlier responses, but how does the WGA work on the international level was one of the questions. I'm thinking that they're, speaking specifically about registering work. It's treated the same as U.S. submissions. Is that correct?
Correct. If there is
can you provide
abroad, if there's litigation abroad, we will still respond to that subpoena or that request. It would be up to that individual attorney to decide how relevant WGA evidence is to the case specifically. Okay.
That's a good answer. That was a good question.
And
too.
One more thing, if you register with the East, you don't have to register with the West or vice versa. You can register with one guild and you don't have to register with the other. Or you can register with both, but it's up to you.
Oh, that's,
you don't have to register with
that's good. Okay. And let's see here. Okay, that's about pitch. Let me go. I'm going to check for some of the email questions here. Let's see, that's legal. A lot of them are legal. And if you're just joining, I had mentioned that I'm planning to do a part 2 in May with the Library of Congress and hopefully, maybe even WGA again. And entertainment attorney so that we can get some of the legal questions answered because we have quite a few of them.
Can I answer this anonymous attendee question? It says when somebody is when submitting a drastically different draft of a screenplay, should I renew each old draft? This specifically, some people will register every draft of their work just to document those changes, and as it evolves, they just keep the current registration. But we do have cases right now. In fact, I've got an international case where someone is trying to prove their original registration when she didn't renew that original registration. So if you were involved with other companies or other parties and you think there may be disputes or problems, the original registration, the original date, it may be good to maintain that. And as long as that storyline is the same, it's not necessary to document every change. Some people want to, and that's perfectly fine, but it isn't necessary. It's when the storyline itself, when the work itself has been altered enough to where it becomes new work, that's when you'd want to register it again. But in some cases, it is a good idea to maintain that original date and that original registration.
Okay. Now, can you, I don't know if this crosses that legal line, but please let me know if it does. But if someone has something registered with you, with a writer and a co-writer, and let's say that the concept and the idea was only, belonged to writer one, but then writer two submits the script into competitions as a sole author of that work, is that the type of thing that can be contested through WGA?
Well, registration isn't ever, it can be contested, but it's legal evidence. So once we receive it, once it's completed, that's how it stays. So we always recommend, if you create something, if you have an idea and you're going to bring other writers in, that you register for yourself if it's important, and then register again when the drafts with the other writers. It's important to note that this isn't ownership. So if you do come up with an idea and you want to pitch that or bring other writers in, you want to document that for yourself initially first.
Okay.
Just for yourself.
Okay.
And then anytime you make changes with that work and you bring in writers, or writers fall off, then you would register those changes as well. You'd want to register at that time as well. And I was going to say something about the drafts. The drafts itself are, that's up to you if you want to register every single draft. And when we register,
Sounds like you're freezing a little bit, Caroline. Can you still hear me?
Yes, now we can, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. We missed, I think, the last part of your answer, Caroline.
Oh, I was just saying that when you register with the Writers Guild, the version you're registering, we only want to know who contributed the writing on that specific version. We don't want to know all the writers involved. Just who put the pen to paper on that version, who you want to register.
Oh, okay. Okay. And let's see, Tiska wonders if she would need to register both with WGA West and WGA Canada, because there is a film that will be released, but it'll be released in North America. And the author, of course, created and lives in Canada.
It's the same. That would be the same as the difference between the East and the West. If you're in Canada, or if you're in the country that you have a Writers Guild, when documenting your authorship as much as possible.
Okay. And Dawn, yes, you can submit book submissions. And there is no difference, Lena, in WGA East and West. You can register at either or both. They are sister unions, Caroline said earlier. So, and no, it doesn't matter if you send it to the East or West, Bobby. And if they're using a pen name, do you recommend they register under the pen name and a separate registration under the legal name?
No,
just
because
the legal name.
Right, because it's legal name. That's all we need. That's all registration needs, the guild needs. If you're pitching that pen name, you can pin name with effect on.
Okay. Okay. So now, just as a point of reference for historical facts, about how many cases would you say WGA has testified in or been called to testify?
That actually is not a really fair question to ask, because we do get subpoenaed. Sometimes every month we're getting subpoenas, but the cases themselves could be a divorce case. It could be an infringement case. It could be a custody case. We never know the true logistics because we really are here. We're a third party, kind of a disinterested third party, providing this evidence. And if we have to testify to any part of the registration, we will. We're not testifying as to the material itself and any of the writing. We're only testifying to what we know, which is when we received the material, how it was maintained, and the status of that registration.
So I think it's fair to say that, you know, the need for WGA pretty much is I think we can all say that it's been established. So I think it would behoove us all to have the registration versus not having it. Especially if we're going to get into competitions and, show different works to producers and directors, and even do pitch sessions. We would, probably fare well to have it registered. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it says, is it okay? Do you think that it's okay to include the WGA registrations on the drafts of the work that they submitted? I don't think that. I think that's probably subjective. I think it's up to the author. But what do you guys think?
It's up to the author, right?
Absolutely.
It's up to the author.
Right. It's up to the author. It's up to the author how they release their registration information, whether it's on the page WGAW registered, the registration number, or not at all, or a copy of the certificate. That's up to the author how they release that information.
Oh, okay. And you know what? This is a kind of good one. It's just a follow-up to that. But how protected should one be of their WGA registration number? Should they protect it like a credit card number? Or is this something that should, be easily shared, freely shared?
Well, something that your audience should know is that so if you want to know registration records or photo before we talk to you. So we don't release anything. So if you release your registration number to a company and a company calls us up and says, is this number valid? We don't respond to that because we don't provide any searching features. We don't release information. So how the author releases it, that's their business.
That's their business.
Them and the company.
Okay.
And if I can just add to that, that's one of the reasons why it's important you register in your legal name, because if you were to call and inquire about your registration, we would ask for your ID. Your ID needs to match the registration. So if you registered in a pseudonym, then you wouldn't have an ID that matched, so we couldn't give you that information.
Correct.
Okay, so to the person who asked that question, that right there is the reason why you should use your legal name. And we're not attorneys, but I mean, it doesn't take an attorney to really realize that, but I would say go with what they say and do your legal name, Then someone is asking, where would they go online to start a registration with WGA West?
So the West registration site is wgawregistry.org.
Okay.
And if any of the people attending are on Twitter, we're also on Twitter at WGAW Registry. That's our handle on Twitter. If you have any other questions, or we often update that if we have things going on in the office or closures or just things that you should know about. Sites sometimes it will go down, or if it has a glitch, we'll let people know on there. So you guys should definitely follow us at WGAW Registry on Twitter as well.
That'll
And
be good.
our email
WGA
address is pretty simple. If you have any questions, you can email us at ipr@wga.org.
Okay. That is some very good information there. Looks like a lot of the questions you've already pretty much covered. If someone wants, if something has not been addressed and you want to submit a question on the comments or the Q&A, please feel free to do that now. We'll be wrapping up in about 8 minutes or so. But we want to make sure we get everyone some answers.
I saw one that asked about the renewal period. So if you had something that you registered 10 years ago and you did not renew it, you would not be able to go back and renew it now. You have to catch it within that 90-day grace period that we give that extends beyond the expiration date.
Oh,
once
okay.
it hits that 91st date, we have to get rid of the material. So we would no longer have something from 10 years ago.
Okay, so the only way to do that is to do it before or within that 90-day grace period.
Right. You can't,
yeah. Now, let me ask you this: how long or how many registrations do you feel is really necessary for a protected work or for a registered work? Like, you know, you can renew it 2 or 3 times every, you know, you renew it on 5 years and then 10 years and then 15 years. How many times should we really do that to, how important is it to always keep it registered?
Well, that really depends on the writer and the company that they're working with.
Okay.
It really depends. Like I said, I have a case right now that it's international, it's in France. And the writer registered multiple drafts, did not keep that first one. And that's what she's fighting right now. So some writers, like I said, will register every draft and every change and maintain everything. It really is evidence. And it's how you would like to use this evidence for yourself and how the evidence you create for yourself and your writing. So if it's important enough for you to maintain all of these records and keep everything for the one project, then by all means do it. If you're good with your initial treatment and your final screenplay, or even just your treatment, then that's how you want to use the service. We recommend that you register before you talk to somebody, and that changes are significant enough, you register it again. And those are the only recommendations we're basically allowed to give you.
Okay. Now, someone was asking about comic book registrations and characters together, separately. What's the recommendation there?
Well, your characters, the creation of your characters the documentation will be within the body of your work. So it's fine to register. You can have a character breakdown if you're registering a Bible, but your characters are documented within your work itself.
Okay. Okay.
And as far as artwork goes, I saw someone asked a question about graphic novels. Whatever you put in as your evidence, as long as it's your work that you've created, do it by all means, whether it's your artwork, whether it's a graphic novel that you've drawn and you've written on it, or whatever it is. We suggest you package that up and send it to us, get that to us either online or by mail, and create that evidence of your authorship of that work.
Oh, okay. Good advice. Okay, so now someone is asking about legal name changes. Let's say someone registers a body of work and you know, 3.5 years later they marry, last name change. Is there requirement to update that name? And I guess the person is asking because they might need to. But if there is, if they do need to update that name, is there a fee associated with changing the name on the paperwork at WGA?
There's no fee associated with that. But we would need documentation showing the name change. So, and you can send that and your photo ID. You'll be able to send that. You can fax it. You can scan it through the computer, and we can take care of it that way. Or you can come into the office.
Right.
Okay.
But there is no fee associated with changing your name.
Okay. And will the the artists, will they receive any type of correspondence alerting them that they are about to expire their registrations?
We did try a test mailing that was not as successful as we'd like it to be. We get a lot of letters returned to us undeliverable, and right now we're working on an emailed notification. We do not right now. It is on the author to keep track of his or her records and maintain the dates, the expiration dates, the effective dates, and so on and so forth.
Okay. What about photography, choreography, music, and sound recordings? How might someone register those, in what format?
Well, if choreography, I would like to see that one, but you could.
that might be pretty good, actually.
What we recommend is if you can describe it on paper, you can register that. If you can type out, we accept lyrics, sheet music. If your video is slow enough to upload online, you can do it that way. If you're creative enough to spell out your choreography, you can put that on paper and register it that way too. So however you can, like I said, however you can affix it to the paper, however you affix it to a typical form and get it to us, we're going to accept it.
Okay.
So that is a little bit tricky. My sister is a photographer, so this is a little bit tricky.
Okay.
The photography itself, we can't accept an actual photograph, but if you have pictures within your work, absolutely you can submit them. But we do recommend you have some kind of work with that photograph.
Okay.
And a photograph itself can't accept.
Okay. Now, someone is asking what the processing time is for registering the work. Once they submit it and submit the payment, how long before they actually get their certificate?
Well, when you register, once we receive it, it's registered. That's when it becomes effective. Online, you get your information immediately. You get a confirmation page listing your registration number. You'll get an email with the same information. And then several weeks afterwards, you'll get a certificate in the mail. If you come in, it's immediate. And if you mail it, it's once we receive the material in the mail in our office. That's when it's effective, and we then mail back a certificate. So you're waiting on mail time for the certificate, but the registration is effective once we receive it.
Okay. Okay.
There's a lot of questions about registering adaptations. So how that goes, you can register anything that you are the author. So if your work is based on an existing book or an existing screenplay, you can register your version. Right. Because you're documenting that authorship of that piece that you're submitting. Right. So you can register adaptations, yes.
Registration doesn't cover the work you're basing your work on. It only covers the work you've written.
Okay. All righty. And let's see here. I think we had the application forms are online. I was responding to a question. You can get the applications from the WGA website, and you can also submit it online and make your payment online as well.
Yes.
Yep.
And let's see, the registration fee is another question. $20 for non-members and $10. Excuse me?
And $20 for non-members and $10
for members.
For 5 years.
And for 5 years.
And that's 5-year registration.
Right.
And yes, they take credit cards.
Yes, Visa and MasterCard. Yes.
Okay, they take Visa and MasterCard online, so you can take care of that.
Right.
And no, you do not get your work back. What happens is when it expires, they have a process that they go through, and anything that's not renewed goes through that process where it's actually destroyed. So nobody is going to maintain a copy of it for, you know, historical reasons or anything like that. After that time has expired,
correct,
it is destroyed. So no copies are maintained. That was for Dad.
Correct, correct. And I saw a question or a comment about the guild selling scripts or
yes, stealing,
making a profit off of the registration. Right. Yeah. This is legal evidence. I've been doing this for a very long time. Once the registration is expired, we destroy the material. If it isn't renewed, if it isn't maintained by the author, the Writers Guild cannot maintain it because it is legal evidence. Okay. So we destroy the material.
Okay. May I register more than one piece of work on the same application?
Each registration has to be separate. You can put multiple works. If you're mailing it to us, you can put them in the same envelope.
Okay.
But each separate work is a separate registration.
Okay. Separate registration and separate fee. Okay. So I think that is pretty much most of the questions that we're still getting has already been covered, and I've been trying to respond to some through directly through the message. So if you have anything else to add, Aaron, Caroline, or Brad, let me know, and then we'll, you know, certainly if you have some follow-up things you'd like to leave the attendees with. And then also, you know, as I said, just look out for more. We're going to probably do a second one in May with more from a legal perspective, though. So can you repeat the Twitter handle again and the website address again?
Yeah, the website address is wgawregistry.org. And
okay.
the email address is IPR, that's short for Intellectual Property Registry.
Okay.
At wga.org. And
okay.
Our Twitter handle is WGAW Registry.
Okay. And like they said, they update things regularly on Twitter. So make sure you go out there, and you could probably get some responses too, right? If someone has a question or something.
We will respond to questions on Twitter as well. Yes. And so that'll be a good opportunity.
Email us.
Email and
Twitter. And I want to just thank everyone for their questions. Thank you for supporting the Hub and supporting the Masterclass and supporting us. We really appreciate it. Do you have anything to add, Brad?
Nope, I just want to say thank you to Carmen for pulling this together and organizing it. So thank you so much. And thanks to Aaron and Caroline for joining us and providing all that great insight. I can see that a lot of questions were answered. I know the students really loved and appreciated it. For everyone who is watching at home, if you go to the Hub, you can see this video will be stored there, so you can review it later. And if you have any other questions, like I said, you can email them or send it through Twitter.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so
everyone
much.
Have a great weekend. Caroline, Aaron, I appreciate it so much. You guys, what you guys did was priceless.
No problem. We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.